My name is Jordan, and my preferred pronouns are he, him, his.
I'm Fazal, and my preferred pronouns are he, him, and his.
I'm Jan, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
I'm Nikia, my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
And I'm Kate, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Cool. So today we're going to be talking about sending the text about sexual health, or send the text. All right. So let's move into the talk, send the text challenge. So just to give y'all like an overview, basically what we want to do is start a challenge throughout the state where people are sending text messages to their partners, friends, you name it, about sexual health, and just getting them to like start that conversation, but also having them feel comfortable. So before we get into that, I just want to talk about sexual health. What is the first thing you think about when you hear sexual health?
I honestly think about work
Yeah,
because I work in this office.
true.
Okay. Anybody else?
Prevention.
Yeah.
Prevention.
Condoms.
Think about regular testing.
Testing.
Okay. Nikia, what do you hear when you hear sexual
Working
health?
condoms. That's it.
Okay. So like in general, like when you're talking to your friends, you wouldn't say anything about sexual health if you're talking about sexual health. Does that make sense?
No.
No.
Okay, so like you would never be like, yeah, so let's talk about sexual health. You would just be like, I don't know.
Oh.
If we're having a
Like how-
conversation, it
Yeah.
would probably be like, just make sure you wrap it up, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that.
No one's ever like, hey, we're gonna go have brunch, and then also let's discuss our sexual health.
Yeah.
Like, that never happens. It's usually prompted by someone's experience
Yeah.
Right.
or a
For
news
sure.
story.
Yeah.
For sure. Or like going to get tested.
Yeah, I
and
was about
talking
to
a
say
little
that,
bit about
yeah.
that.
Like if one person gets tested, then it comes up in conversation.
Of like,
oh,
when
I
was
got
the last
tested.
time?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so like it's almost like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. I'm always the weird friend. It's like, hey.
I think we are all.
Oh, I think we're the weird friends of our friend group. Like, it still
That's
comes
when it comes down
up.
to sex.
Right.
Okay.
No, for sure that's us in our friend groups.
So, what are, if you have any, what are some fears that you have about sexual health? Like, are you afraid of anything involving sexual health?
I feel like I used to think about if people would like lie about their status. I feel like that's kind of a weird thing, but I don't know. That would just be one thing that comes to mind. But hopefully we've gotten to a point where like people are more comfortable talking about their sexual health, that we wouldn't have that.
Ironically enough, because I work in this office, I'm less concerned about ever being exposed to or contracting HIV. I'm more concerned about everything else.
Yeah.
Right.
That like
Yeah.
people are just like, oh well, it's not HIV, so I don't need to disclose it. I was like,
Right.
okay, but like herpes is still herpes, and
Yeah.
I would prefer not to have it. So like that's the only thing that comes up, and I know that a lot of that is privilege because I have access to information that's like bombarded to me on a regular basis. So in that way, I feel more empowered. So I feel less, I guess, constricted in terms of sexual health in my life.
Do you all feel like, I don't know, did y'all have any responses?
No.
What was the question again?
Do you have any fears about sex?
That's what it was. So I guess fears. I think asymptomatic, like gonorrhea and chlamydia. I think like the fears of those, like back in the day, maybe, were like, oh man, because like a lot of folks don't use condoms for oral sex and don't understand that those are ways that stains can't get transmitted. Yeah.
Okay.
Asymptomatic as
No, that's a real
Yeah.
perspective. It's
Right.
asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because you never know, like, you just don't know.
Like,
You have to
Exactly.
get tested in order to find
Exactly.
out. Okay. So, do you guys believe that people should be having sex?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be, or like, I mean, if they have the chance and have consent, they should.
Yeah.
What does that mean, consent?
As long as both parties, or however many parties involved are all aware of what they're consenting to or whatever they're about to participate in, no one feels coerced or forced into it.
That everyone's like on the same page.
Yes.
Yes means yes, no means no.
Only if they want to.
Only if they want to.
Only
And
if they want to.
And if their kink is saying yes or no, they should have a safe word just to cover all bases. Some people, that's their kink. You can't shame them for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but you shouldn't.
What's your safe word, Jan?
I don't have a safe word.
Okay, so of course all you guys work for the STD, HIV, hepatitis program, but your friends in general, what do you think some of their fears would be, or like why isn't sex something that people talk about, at least the healthy part about it? Like it's really easy to be promiscuous and be sexy, but why do you think the health part gets dropped off?
I think a lot of it has to do with confidentiality, with health information, or maybe, just feeling uncomfortable with disclosing statuses or regular testing schedules. I don't know.
I feel like if you ask or bring up healthy sexual health practices, people might feel like there's judgment if somebody was like, oh, like I went and got tested and like I tested positive for chlamydia. For some people that's like, oh, that means you're being dirty. Not necessarily the case. Also, it could be treated, but that's not common knowledge, and it's easier to stigmatize someone for having something or being dirty than being educated and talking about it. Because then you have to admit to, like, I don't know, having had sex, even though everyone tries to do it, but nobody wants to admit to it. If that makes sense.
It does. It's a really good point.
Or that like sexually transmitted infections and stuff aren't like normal. I mean, I feel like that's all a part of like having sex too,
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of people avoid having those conversations, just like what Jan said, I guess.
I think that sometimes sexual health is part of a normal conversation, but because it's so normal, it's not exaggerated. It's like, oh, I went to the doctor and got a checkup, but it kind of just stops there because that's a normal thing. You go to the doctor.
Yeah. I felt, well, I recently, one of my recent pet peeves has been the question, you good?
Yeah.
It makes me cringe when like guys ask me like, so you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
But like in
Well,
what
yeah, what
way?
do you mean?
Financially,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I might be good in the way you're asking, but you don't know what the rest of my issues are.
Right, like,
No
so,
say.
and I feel like that's even like stigma around any STI is that if you are living with STI or have had an STI, that you're automatically bad, or it's like something bad has happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even if I were someone who was living with HIV, I feel like I would still say I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
For sure.
because there's medication.
Yeah, especially if you're
Sure.
virally suppressed and you're like, yes, I'm great, actually. Like, but that doesn't answer the question that they wanted to really ask.
Yeah, they didn't ask the right question.
Right.
But we're also coming from the standpoint, right, of like being
That's very
educated
true.
about
That
it,
is
knowing the
very true.
resources, knowing that it is treatable,
Right.
you know?
Well, then to add to that, I guess part of the reason too that people don't ask is that like, if you just slid into someone's DMs and things are going really well, even though you're concerned about sexual health, that's probably not the first thing you're thinking of because your goal is, like, you have a specific end goal. And then once you get to that, like, you can see the pearly gates, you're not gonna be like, oh, also, by the way, when was the last time you got tested? Let me know. Like, usually that gets bypassed. There's a lot of less preventative, but more like, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. So they're just like, well.
Okay.
I also think, you kind of touched on it, but I think for some people too, talking about sexual health is like an admittance of having sex, and for some people that is, I don't know, very taboo or like sinful in some ways. So I think that also could be something, even,
Oh, especially in the South.
yeah.
The
I feel like
Gulf
just
South.
talking about sex is not.
Right. Yeah. It's a weird place to be.
Mhm.
At least I'm like always like, trying to educate people.
Yeah.
But even then, you still run into people who are like, I have my mindset. And
For sure.
like, I even know people who would rather not get tested and be okay with like not knowing versus knowing
Yeah.
and
For sure.
like
Yeah.
preventing and treating.
Yeah.
But so, I don't know if I asked this question, but I'll ask it again just so I can have
comes up in conversation.
Right.
That wouldn't just be like a, yo, where are you guys at with,
Yeah.
you know, but like, I think if it comes up in conversation, it's a very, feels normal to talk about that. Because also most of the experiences that you have are not ones that are unique, you know, like most other people have experienced them too.
Right.
That's part of the normalizing it too.
I will say, and this might be unique to either my situation or just like very few other friend groups, it actually gets imposed on me on a regular basis. Because I'm in a group chat with my friends, and back when more of them were single or like were, I guess, in like more open relationships, that'll come up in like a group chat conversation and be like, oh, this happened, like this came up. So the conversations do happen actually around me. Sometimes they're too open for my own preference, like I don't necessarily know anything. So in that way, like those are, yes, those conversations come up, but there are definitely people in my life who are just like, oh, like you need like a healthy sexual health conversation, at least like a less stigmatized one, but don't necessarily happen.
Yeah. I think I kind of wear the same hat, you know. Like, you know, whenever, you know, something may or may not come up, you know, with friends, they always come to you first because of where you work, you know.
Right.
And it's easy for us, you know, for me in particular to have that conversation with a friend. Like, it depends on what information they disclose to me, you know, like what do they come to me with, and I'll help them the best way that I can, you know.
Cool. All right. Well, with that being said, we have 5 prompts for people, so I guess I will also pick one. For you guys to text anybody in your contact list. It could be one of your partners, it could be one of your friends, it could be a family member. But just what we want people to do and the viewers to do is take this challenge where they take a prompt that we create or one that they want to create themselves and text somebody in their social circle about sexual health, and just to see like what that conversation is like. So more of a active role, and maybe not like a passive, hey, you know, we just so happen to stumble across this conversation, but like let's actually be intentional about sexual health.
Do we have to disclose, I guess, do we have to like pick ahead of time who we're gonna say it to? Like you wanna know today?
You don't necessarily have to tell us who you're gonna send it to, but we do want you to have the conversation.
Okay.
So you can be like, yeah, so I text this person and, you know, they were like, blah, 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 blah.
Can I text Jan?
You cannot text each other.
Okay, that is the wrong question.